One thing I don't think we talked about Kellen Munn enough. Or
Let's say we haven't yet.
What the hell, Kellen Moore? When we talked about the Cowboys, I feel like we did him a disservice. It's cool. Next year when we do Coach's Corner, it'll just be him after Mike McCarthy gets fired. I'm sorry, I'm down on the energy today.
Me too, dude.
Let me do this intro real quick. Hey, everybody. Thanks again for coming back to this. Just puts a rough nap research. Now, welcome to the show, everybody. Today we're doing the NFC South preview.
Let's go.
Dirty South.
Got a little bit of a Super Bowl champion in this one. And a little bit of what the hell's going on, you know? We got an oldest quarterback in the world and a couple of youngsters fighting it out. And there's a guy out of Idaho in there somewhere. When you're talking about quarterbacks out of Idaho, we got to be talking about Taysom Hill. So we'll see what happens.
Quarterback, question mark?
Yeah, tight end.
Stick around.
We'll find out. But it's kind of a weird week this week, considering we just did the AFC East and saw a lot of rookies and a lot of free agents coming through. And not so much this week. So we're just going to put it all on paper and see what you guys think about it.
We'll start with the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
The little coach's corner I'm doing, we're going to go with Sean Payton, head coach, offensive coordinator, Pete Carmichael, been part of that team. He's been the offensive coordinator since 2009. I don't know. I think, are they going to do the same thing? It's hard to predict, so I'm not even going to try to go there. I think, he's known for exploiting mismatches. Michael Thomas news came out today that he had surgery on his ankle, I believe.
Yeah.
So they don't even think he's going to be there at the start of the season. So Kamara's bump up. The quarterback's a question mark. So I don't even think you can predict what this team's going to do. But I'll send it over to you guys and see what you think.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's hard to predict. I would think early on it might be very similar to the offense they ran last year. It's not like their offense was bad. It wasn't as good as it has been in recent years, specifically the passing game. They ranked 19th in yards. They managed to score a lot, and their run game is what made them good. They were 6th in rushing and 1st in rushing touchdowns. So, you'd think a lot of running the ball, figuring out which quarterback they're going to use, but both these guys can throw farther than Drew Brees. So you would think once he gets comfortable, he might try to start opening up that offense. My question is, especially with Michael Thomas gone, who are you throwing it to? You got Traquan Smith, who's always been kind of like a hypey guy, and then Marquez Callaway, Deontay Harris. Well, those are your guys without Michael Thomas. Unless you make a move, which I don't know what their cap situation is like anymore, but I'm sure it's not great.
Right.
Should bring Des Bryant in, right?
There you go.
Larry Fitz, is he done?
He's still a free agent.
That'd be crazy.
I don't want to see Larry Fitz in another uniform.
Josh Gordon, here we go.
There you go. Yeah, there's guys out there, but it's going to be interesting. But
there really are guys,
Yeah.
Alshon's still out there. I don't know. So, but when you're talking about all this, Adam Troutman has to come up a little bit.
Yeah.
But Emmanuel Sanders is gone. That's 82 targets. Jared Cook, 60 targets. Michael Thomas missing, they say 4 months. So we're talking about late September coming back. Oh, man, it's what are you going to do? I agree with you. It reminds me a little bit of the Packers where it's like Devontae Adams and then somebody has to step up, but no one ever stepped up.
Yeah,
really.
that's fair.
except for Logan or Bob Tunyon.
Yeah,
so,
Big Bob.
So that could be a situation where the tight end gets a lot of the work. You know, everyone was excited about Adam Troutman. He didn't get a ton of work last year, but neither did Traquan Smith. He only had 50 targets. Callaway only had 27 targets. Mm-hmm. So it is scary. It really does seem like it's going to be another situation where Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara are just doing it on the ground again.
Yeah.
Which is cool with me. I'm a huge supporter of AK-41. That's Alvin Kamara. And he had 101 targets last year, led the team, or 110, or 107. There you go. That's the number. And I think that he's just going to do that again.
Yeah.
In a major way. We'll see what Jameis Winston coming in the team really means. He's the starter, right? Like, no one's talking about this anymore, are they?
I mean,
that's the thing. With Michael Thomas gone, I feel like maybe they're just going to try to do the whole Wildcat running the ball.
Well, he is one Wildcat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my fear. I feel like even last year, teams still had to respect Drew Brees' ability to run the offense and find the open man. Speaking of Kamara, now that Brees is gone and you might not have Michael Thomas, why aren't you just putting 4 guys on Kamara and then just daring either Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston to beat you? Like, that's what you have to do, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know that it'll work. Kamara's special. Sean Payton has proven to be a great offensive play caller, but I mean, stacking the box and then having him covered on every play, and then it's like, okay, if Traquan Smith and Taysom Hill beat you, then you deserve to get beat anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you think if that worked, they would have done it. You know, Drew Brees has missed some time in recent years.
That's fair. I guess they did win when he was gone. But
yeah. But, you know, like you guys keep saying, Sean Payton's going to find a way to stir things up. But I definitely think this team as a whole takes a big step back without Drew.
They shot their shot. They went for the playoff run. That's why they were over the cap at the end of this year. And it just didn't work out. They didn't get a Super Bowl, but now they have to pay the piper, so to speak, because now they lost Emmanuel Sanders, Nick Easton, Jared Cook, Trey Hendrickson, Josh Hill, Sheldon Rankins, Janoris Jenkins were all cap casualties.
Yep.
So now it's a rebuild year, and that's what it is. They're going to be good because Sean Payton's a good coach, but not. I don't think they're making the playoffs.
Yeah, and you know their draft was really heavy on the defense.
Yeah.
You know, the defensive end, linebacker, cornerback, your first 3 rounds. And that's, you know, what you're talking about, them losing in free agency. So they know. I mean, I feel like if I knew my team was about to fall off a cliff, the first thing I'd do would be to build the defense up.
Yeah,
you got to build the defense up because you can get superstars on the other side of the ball, you know. I guess that's where Jameis Winston comes in. I'm still so confused by this team. It just makes me sad. I can't even with them. But the O-line is ranked 4th going into the season. End of the season is 8th. And they didn't really lose anything off of that in the offseason. So let's go, man. Let's see. I mean, Alvin Kamara's the man, right?
Yeah. No, he's going to be sick. He's still going to be a top 5 running back.
Yeah.
I just don't know that translates to success for the Saints necessarily, but hey, we're a fantasy podcast, not a pick'em podcast. So
yeah,
although we could be a pick'em podcast.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think those carries are going up. And if you saw the running back longevity episode, I don't know.
Yeah, he did have 187 carries last year, so that's kind of
he might be the leading receiver on the team.
He was last year.
Yeah.
He might hit that 130 with 32 and beat CMC.
Beautiful.
Uh-oh.
Is that a segue?
Yes, that was a segue into the Carolina Panthers and head coach Matt Rule. We all know about him coming out of college from Baylor and all that jazz. But I want to talk about offensive coordinator Joe Brady real quick because this guy's interesting.
Tom Brady's son is already coaching?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yep.
Which one?
Yeah, seriously.
Is it the one he kissed?
No, it was the one that caught the pass from Tom Brady in the or from Drew Brees in the end zone. He's a coach
grew
now.
up already.
Yep.
Nice.
These the McVay experiment's over. We're going straight to Tom Brady's kids. Joe Brady. But no, he's got a pretty short career. Started in 2014 at a linebacker coach, William and Mary. I thought this was interesting. 2015, he was a Penn State grad assistant. Didn't mean he did much, but what I thought was interesting is that was a Penn State team with Saquon Barkley, Chris Godwin, and Mike Gesicki. So just fun fact. I don't know how much that influences his play style, but now we're going to talk about 2017 to 18 offensive assistant for the New Orleans Saints under Sean Payton.
Traitor.
Right. They're going into another NFC South team, but
Segue.
right, he goes. So that's Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas led in targets, as you could imagine. Mark Ingram was when he was the rushing leader on that team. I mostly bring up that he was part of this team because this is where he experienced probably the worst depression of his life when Stephon Diggs caught the 2017 NFC Championship touchdown, Minneapolis Miracle. King Diggs. So, I think he faced a lot of adversity through that loss, and I think that's why he's going to persevere. So we'll go to 2019.
I thought you were getting super real right there. I thought we were about to
I did. I wrote
I was like,
that.
oh, God.
I wrote it ... pause.
Pause for effect.
But
14 greater than 41.
I hope that everyone knows this. If you were familiar with college football and you don't know about the 2019
LSU?
Louisiana State Tigers, they were probably, I don't even know if it's arguable, but the best NCAA offense of all time under Joe Burrow.
Thaddeus Moss, son.
Thaddeus Moss, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Terrence Marshall Jr.
Joe Burrow.
So speaking of Terrence Marshall Jr., guess who the Carolina Panthers drafted?
I don't have to guess. I got the chess piece.
All right.
Should have been a Chief.
Brady
So-
Christensen.
I do want to throw out that next year, it was a weird COVID year, but he wasn't technically the offensive coordinator. He was a wide receiver coach and passing game coordinator for LSU. But the next year after he left, LSU goes 5-5, and that offensive coordinator's demoted. But that is also without your Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. But it's still a pretty powerhouse team. So going into this, I was thinking, you got Curtis Samuels leaving. That's 97 targets.
What?
And Mike Davis had the 70 targets. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. And, I thought it was interesting bringing in Robbie Anderson. Oh, by the way, he's the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers last year. But I went into a deep dive of watching film.
Our stuff, dude.
I went into a deep dive of watching film. And when you watch that 2019 game tape, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Terrence TMJ.
Call him Scary Terry.
It's really interesting. If you watch those guys, they're all interchangeable. They all run, deep ins, deep outs. They all run back shoulder fades. Each of them run screen passes. And that's the same thing you got out of DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, running almost the exact same routes. Slants, doesn't matter. So I'm curious if, Curtis Samuel leaving, bringing in Terrace Marshall Jr. to play the Terrace Marshall Jr. role that he did at the 2019 LSU. So I think he's rebuilding this. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's there to take Robbie Anderson's spot. Same size, little like 10 pounds lighter, 6'3", 215 Robbie Anderson, TMJ, 6'3", 205. So I think he just brought this guy in to play that role, and I am very excited for Sam Darnold this year. Mm-hmm. Not as accurate as Teddy Bridgewater, but a better arm. And he likes to scheme people into open space, is what I noticed. And someone that was really good at contending catches and open space was Shy Smith, or is it She Smith? Shy Smith. If you watch his film, he's already in all these routes as well. He's a smaller guy, though, so I wouldn't be surprised if next year Terrence Marshall Jr. slides into that Robbie Anderson role, and then Shy Smith comes in and plays that slot. But anyway, kick it over to you guys.
There's nothing left.
No.
Well, this was
My
sneaky.
bad.
One of my favorite off seasons of teams, kind of under the radar. I mean, they took, in my opinion, two of the best players in the 2 first rounds in J.C. Horn, number 1, and then Terrace Marshall. Value-wise, I think Marshall was great where they got him. Could have been a first rounder, in my opinion, if teams needed a wide receiver. But a lot of it does hinge on us being right about Sam Darnold, just needing a better team around him. And one of the things that could end up still hurting Sam Darnold, something that hurt him with the Jets, was the Panthers' O-line is sneaky bad, and they didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
They ranked 17th in pass blocking, and they didn't. They took Brady Christensen in the 3rd round, so they tried to address it. But other than that, they didn't bring in anybody in free agency to really fix that. So hopefully that doesn't screw Darnold. But I trust Matt Rule and Joe Brady as play callers and schemers way more than I ever would Adam Gase. So hopefully they can kind of cover up that offensive line, because it's not like it was the worst one ever either. But weapons-wise, they crushed it. You're getting CMC back. That's huge.
Yep.
You got to cover him. And Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall, that's awesome. They lost Curtis Samuel, but as long as Terrace Marshall is the guy we all think he's going to be, then that 3 I would put up against almost anybody in the league and think that they have a chance of putting up better numbers than most. And so as long as Sam Darnold can stay on his feet and kind of work through the offense that Matt Rule gives him, I think this offense could fly.
Oh, yeah. What are you going to say about these guys? I love them. TMJ is the man, and he's hooking up with his college coach. They brought him in. It was ridiculous that he fell that far in the draft. I get it. There's injury concerns. But, he was the highest graded prospect the year he came out of high school,
Yeah.
And he played pretty damn well at LSU despite being on a team that was amazing. So if you can outshine all that, then you can definitely make a name for yourself in the NFL. I hope he replaces Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson's great. He's got that connection with Matt Rule from his college days at Baylor, so you got to do what you got to do.
I kind of think Robbie Anderson works better as a 2, though.
Well, no, I want him to be a 3.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
So,
Well, I do think Terrace Marshall Jr. is going to be the 3. I think he replaces Robbie Anderson when Robbie Anderson's contract's up this year. Because he's a free agent next year.
right.
And I think it's a perfect opportunity for him to learn. Because if you watch, dude, I'm telling you, go watch that 2019, LSU team, and then compound that, or put that against the 2020 Carolina. They're running the exact same routes. He's scheming them all open. They're all running different things. He'll take DJ Moore and send him over the top, and then bring Robbie Anderson around and bring Mike Davis out. So then the safety bites every time. That's how they got all those open passes over the top, because you don't know who he's targeting.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. I was gonna say, he targeted, and when he was at LSU, he threw the ball to Clyde Edwards-Helaire 70 times.
Yeah.
And for a college running back, that's kind of insane. So, he's going to fit right in at Carolina with CMC.
Yeah.
And
His targets are about to go way through the roof again.
And I'd say also if Robbie Anderson,
could they get any higher?
yeah, if Robbie Anderson happens to miss a few games, or Terrace Marshall Jr. is not fully recovered, I do think David Moore could be a sneaky sleeper for sure.
Yeah, David Moore, he's a solid player.
I want to throw out some love to Chuba. I think he definitely takes over that second back role immediately. He's facing Trenton Canyon for that spot right now.
Really, Bonifacio still in there. What's
Yeah.
So, and I think he's kind of an excellent mini version of McCaffrey. He didn't catch the ball nearly as much in college, but he has the ability to. He showed it. He was efficient when given the chance.
Yeah.
And he's quick. He's smaller, 205, I think was the last time I checked it. And yeah, I really like him as a spell to Christian McCaffrey. Not that he comes out very often, but if he ever gets hurt again, man, I think Chuba could still just keep that offense going.
He's definitely handcuffed to hold. Mm-hmm. And
I mean, yeah, we saw the success Mike Davis had,
Yeah.
And a guy like that gets 70 targets in this offense. Like, Christian McCaffrey's going up. You know that they understand they could share the workload a little bit and still trust it to happen. And I think, Chuba's he's gonna be fun to watch. I don't think, he's not hitting the starting lineup without injury. But it's still exciting for him.
Well, something. The last thing I wanted to add too is what I think is interesting is they did sign Robbie Anderson to a 2-year, $20 million contract with $12 million guaranteed, and then they drafted Terrace Marshall. I just feel like Joe Brady came in and Matt Rule is just like, "What do you want?"
Yeah.
And Robbie Anderson's that 6'3", 215 body type, 4.4 speed. I mean, it just seems like he's getting what he wants, and I mean, obviously they need to fix that line. He wanted a bigger arm. Brought in Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you guys felt about that trade, if that was an overpay or not.
I don't think so at all.
It seemed pretty fair, but like a second and 2 other picks, but for someone you weren't high on, I mean, don't know.
At the end of the day, it's a quarterback. A quarterback market is always going to be huge. It's a young quarterback at that.
That's true.
Truth.
Like.
First of all, is Robbie Anderson weighs 190 pounds, right?
I think he weighs 215. He's 6'3".
No, he's really skinny.
Little toothpick. That doesn't matter.
Oh, he is 190. Okay, yeah. So he is smaller. I had that wrong. I think maybe I was confusing him with DJ Moore then.
Yeah, DJ Moore's 215 for sure.
Okay, yeah. So I got those flopped, but
you're good. And I wasn't even. I was just in my head. I wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy.
You were right, but like that's like if you look at Jamar Chase, Terrace Marshall Jr., and Justin Jefferson, they're all that 6'1" to 6'3". I mean, those guys were all over 200 pounds.
Well, yeah, but they're tall. They're like they're. Yeah.
I got those mixed around, so I apologize, but I can definitely tell he has a type, big and fast.
Me too.
Like every other fucking coach, I guess, but but
So about Sam Darnold, I'm not trying to throw any shade on him. It just scares me. The O-line, like you mentioned, is pretty bad, arguably worse than the Jets last year, but. Yeah, so 3 years in the league, he hasn't had a QBR higher than 50.
Yeah.
He's got some pretty atrocious touchdown to interception rates. It's 45 to 39 interceptions. Yeah. And I like him. And like you're saying, the environment's improved as far as the coaching. He wasn't getting any favors from the play calling or the supporting cast. And as you mentioned, you can't really ask for a more powerful offense than this.
Yeah.
So I think he will be more successful. I just feel like he's, oh my goodness. Like, I don't know if he trusts himself anymore. You know what I mean?
I could see that.
So I don't want to see.
Oh, yeah.
I want him to be successful. I just thought last year he was 33rd in completion percentage and 35th in net yards per attempt. Yeah. Which is like, oh, gross. It can't be that bad again.
Yeah.
So we'll just see.
No, it's definitely like I said, it all hinges on Sam Darnold's talent showing up. Because when he came in, he was a talented guy. He had his issues that have shown to be issues in the NFL.
Right.
But
he had
terrible coaching. So I'm hoping if Matt Rule is the coach I think he is, he can coach a guy up that has talent. Good enough. I don't think he's going to be like a top 10 quarterback or anything by any means. But and maybe just fantasy wise, maybe. But I mean, if you were to rank the top 10 quarterbacks after 2021, not fantasy, just pure talent and how they did, I don't know that he'll be there. But I think he could be efficient and he could get his weapons the ball enough that they can do a lot of damage.
Absolutely. This is a team, going away from the Sam Darnold stuff. They did a lot in free agency as far as the defense goes. They had 5 free agents added over a $2 million per year, which is kind of the threshold I look at. They got Hassan Reddick, outside linebacker. It's going to be pretty big deal. But they also got in Cameron Irving and Pat Elfin. So that's a little bit on the O-line.
Yeah.
Vikings.
Should be pretty...
He's not bad.
Should be pretty cool. I always thought Cam Irving was pretty good. I know he's kind of past his prime, but
Yeah.
I think I don't know how these PFF O-line ratings are. I'm definitely going to be looking back at them at the end of the year and being like, what the fuck, you know? But I feel like you don't go from 18th to 30th not really losing anybody and then adding some high-profile, like $5 million a year guys.
Yeah.
So maybe
fair.
this line will be better than they're projected to be. But
Hopefully, because I like the idea of Sam Darnold and the Panthers being good. So
me too. I liked it a lot better when Curtis Samuel was on that team.
Well, I think the swag of Joe Brady is all the confidence that Sam Darnold needs.
Cool.
fair enough.
Yeah, Matt Rule's pretty badass. But it's just like last year they spent their whole draft on defense. This year, they prioritized the cornerback position. They hit it in free agency. This is another team that's like building for the future, doing things right. And
Yep.
I'm pretty
They're
excited for
As
them.
soon as Tom retires, we're taking the South.
Sorry.
I feel like everyone in
Got
Tom's
me off.
division has been saying that.
Right?
Yeah, well, it's not working for New Orleans. They got Tom Brady came to town.
Right.
Is that a segue?
Yeah, we
Tom
can talk
Brady.
about the champs.
Yep. Tampa Bay head coach Bruce Arians. We all know about him. I think. I would hope so. Coming from Arizona. Pretty high profile guy comes in. We'll talk about the offensive coordinator, Mr. Tom Brady. Apparently he was calling the plays most of last year. There's not much to talk about, man. Like, this is the same team, as I'm sure you guys are going to say. I think maybe Godwin can step up if he stays healthy. He's on his last year. Antonio Brown. I mean, you guys are going to get into all this, but as far as coaching, kind of expect the same thing. Like, if you want to know what they're going to do, watch last
the
year's tape.
Yep.
It's going to be the same. I may be better because now Tom Brady is going to have a healthy knee,
Yeah.
apparently.
Dude, and not even.
So,
I mean, one thing to note is this team really did get off to a slow,
Yeah, they did.
kind of sketchy start in 2020.
yeah, they kind of just. I mean, that game with the Washington football team, I feel like they could have lost that game. Am I remembering
playoff
that right?
game?
The playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They definitely could have.
That was a single possession game.
Yeah.
If our offense could have taken advantage of their sloppy play on offense in the
Kevin
NFC
King,
Championship.
looking at you, Kevin King.
Are you talking our rough draft research offense?
No. We got 3 interceptions on Tom Brady in the second half. Of
We,
the
as
championship.
in rough draft research.
Yeah, rough draft
The
research.
Take away that Scotty Miller touchdown right before half. Take away that weird call at the end with Kevin King. Like, that's a whole different ball game.
But I mean, not to take anything away from them. I'm just saying we did get 3 turnovers and then we just couldn't move the ball at all. So,
I just want to reiterate that we, as Green Bay,
I
It's
mean,
not-
I thought everybody knew that.
it's
but
not the we.
Come on.
I mean,
If you're not a fan
we,
of the show-
Chiefs, probably could have. No, I'm just joking. Then we got it handed to us, and it was sad.
But yeah, AJ, I mean, you said it. Nothing's really going to change. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They brought back their entire team. They didn't add anyone really worth noting in free agency, but they didn't lose anybody. Then in the draft, they kind of took luxury picks. It was weird to me. They took 3 linebackers. Kind of felt like their linebacking core was pretty strong, but
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
weird. But anyway, they take 3 linebackers. They get a quarterback in the second round, Kyle Trask, and then a wide receiver in the 4th with Jalen Darden. And I mean, that's really what we got to talk about. It's the future. Got to start talking about 2022. I mean, Trask is the plan to replace Brady whenever he's done. Darden is going to probably take over for Antonio Brown. And then I think Leonard Fournette gets phased out a little more. He didn't
Godwin's
even play
gone.
that much last year. Well, who knows? They might be able to
That's
work out
true,
a
that's
deal
true.
with Godwin. But he might be gone, so then you got Scotty Miller and Jalen Darden coming in,
And Tyler Johnson.
Yeah, I always forget about Tyler Johnson. So did Tom Brady.
Reddit hasn't forgot about Tyler Johnson, I can tell you that. But
played Rashad Bateman.
yeah. Jeez, he did outplay Rashad Bateman in Minnesota in 2019, which was kind of weird, but, whatever.
I was
It
just
wasn't
trying to
because
be
he's
on your
more
side.
talented. He's just a more seasoned college player at the time. But anyway, there's nothing to say about Tampa Bay. I think, like you're saying, it's going to be a rehashing of what they did last year, except for more efficient. I assume Gronk doesn't weigh like 180 pounds going into the season this year. You know what I mean? He's not in his game show host weight. He's at his football playing weight.
Yeah.
And I think, they're hungry, man. These guys, a lot of these guys probably never thought they were going to play in a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. After playing with Winston and everything that got weird there and the turnover king of the world. And then fucking Tom Brady shows up and he's like, hey, guys, just follow me and I'll lead you there. And he's not going anywhere. And unless his ankle Achilles gets torn up, he'd probably still win a Super Bowl on a torn Achilles, going out there with a freaking hover round or something. So I got nothing to say about it.
Yeah, as far as fantasy production, probably just repeat last year. I think Ronald Jones might have a bigger season than he did last year.
Rojo.
I'm sure.
But that's about it. That's the only change I see.
Yeah, what about Keyshawn Vaughn?
Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah.
Mike Evans is going to have like 13 touchdowns, if not more.
He better, dude. I love Mike Evans. I'm so glad that I finally have him on a dynasty roster.
Dude, like you guys hit the nail in the coffin, or nail on the head, I should say. As far as it's just going to be more efficient. If anyone was doubting before, they're all in this year, and it's all the same guys.
Yeah.
They're just going to be like, Tom, it's all you, baby.
I'm with it.
So boring, Tampa Bay. Why are you gonna be so boring?
Yeah, let's go on to the Atlanta Falcons, man.
Yeah.
An up-and-coming hot team. We're talking about head coach Arthur Smith coming into town, his first year. I'm going to go through this. I got a little back history on him. So, started 2006 and North Carolina grad. 2007, 2008, he was a Washington Redskins defense.
Whoa.
I can say that. 2007, 2008. Washington Redskins defense quality coach under when Chris Cooley, the Pro Bowl tight end, was there, had his Pro Bowl season under Coach Gibbs, legendary Coach Gibbs. I just wanted to mention, the innovator of play action and throwing off a fake run, multiple receiver formations, and the hybrid fullback tight end thing. Loved all the max protection. So what was interesting is he started his first years as a defensive guy, and then got his start in Tennessee as an offensive quality control coach in 2011. Worked his way up to an offensive line and tight ends coach in 2013. During this stint, he was hired by Coach Mike Machuk, who was fired after the 2013 season. So we're going to see like a reoccurring thing. He stays with the Titans through several coaching changes. So, that's always nice to see from a guy. I would think. So Mike Machuk, man, I'm so bad with names. He was a 9-time Pro Bowl guard and offensive line coach for Tennessee from 97 to 2010 under Jeff Fisher. And then he was a primary offensive line coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers from 2014 to 2018. He's the current offensive line coach for the Broncos. I'm mentioning this because I feel like Christian's going to fall in love with this guy. He came from a place where his first head coach that he worked for loved the offensive line and built a damn good one. You think about the Steelers from 2014 to up until last year. That's pretty good. And then 2014 and 15, he's the assistant tight ends coach under new head coach Ken Weishunt, who was the offensive coordinator in San Diego under Mike McCoy, who we talked about. He was offensive coordinator for Josh Daniels for the Broncos. When he was the assistant tight ends coach here, this was the year of Antonio Gates, Ken Weishunt, that is, who was the current head coach. That was Antonio Gates, Keenan Allen, Danny Woodhead era. So 2015, 2018, he's a Tennessee Titans tight end coach under new head coach Mike Mularkey. So Mike Mularkey's also a longtime offensive coordinator, head coach guy. So 2001, 2003 is the Pittsburgh's offensive coordinator with Hines Ward, Plaxico Burress, and then the Buffalo head coach alongside running back Studsville from offensive coordinator for Miami that we talked about.
Oh, yeah.
But this was another time where he's featuring, a two receiver thing. Like if you watch this guy, Mike Mularkey, who he kind of learned from, he was also just featuring like a primary running back and then like featuring two receivers. That was kind of his MO. And so we're going to go. He was also the offensive coordinator for rookie Matt Ryan in the Atlanta Falcons. Funny enough.
Wow.
With Roddy White, if you guys remember Roddy White.
Oh, yeah.
And Tony Gonzalez.
Never heard of him.
Second coming of Tony Gonzalez with Michael Turner, if you remember when he went off. So what's interesting and why I mention him is he became the head coach of the Titans, but he also was the 2014-2015 tight ends coach, who the assistant to the tight ends coach was Arthur Smith. So I'm mentioning all this because he's coming from a history where he takes care of he knows a lot about the offensive line coming from who did I just talk about? Fuck me, man. Mike Machuk.
Yeah.
Machak, not gonna fucking get that right.
McCack.
Munchak?
Munchak? Is that
Munchak.
Munchak?
Yeah.
I'll just dub your voice in every time I do that. But also, the reason I mentioned Stefanski earlier, this is a guy that's kind of like gone through the ringer, like started at offensive line. He's like the guy who used to cook, be the busser, be the waiter, and now he's the manager. He knows all of the shit now, and I think that's going to lead him into a lot of confidence going into a head coaching role. And so now we'll go into it. When Mike Mularkey was there, we're talking about the Delanie Walker and then the start of Derrick Henry. And then, of course, Mike Vrabel comes in 2018, retaining Arthur Smith again. So he's gone through the fourth coaching change and has stayed there. Comes in as the tight ends coach and also learned under offensive coordinator Matt LaFleur that year. Mm-hmm. That was the... Oh, I thought that was the door. So Matt LaFleur comes in, and I don't think there's play styles similar, but I think you're always going to learn something from a smart guy like Matt LaFleur. And he was also the former Atlanta QB coach.
Yeah, so he's already got that camaraderie with Matt Ryan.
Exactly. So I think this is kind of cool because you look at Matt LaFleur, you look at Mike Mularkey, I'm sure these guys got each other's numbers. Yeah. I'm sure he's like, hey, man, what's up with Matt Ryan? I'm sure people are itching to give some advice. But then he comes in 2019. He's hired as offensive coordinator. That's the A.J. Brown breakout year. That's featuring Corey Davis and Adam Humphries. And then the second year, Jonnu Smith. So, again, featuring two receivers. And then he comes in 2020, A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith, Anthony Fursker. So, basically what I'm saying is I think bringing in Kyle Pitts, I think he's going to be more of a primary receiver more than a tight end. And I do think Hayden Hurst is going to have some viable role in this offense. And I think Calvin Ridley is going to be a primary receiver because that's kind of where the data shows from his past actions. And I think they're going to be trying to establish the run game with Mike Davis. I don't think he's going to get a lot of passes, but I think that's where, if you look at his 2019 and 20, that's where the offenses start. Play action pass and establishing the run.
Yeah.
I don't know how confident I am in that, but we'll see. Anyway, that's a bunch of garbage. I lost my train of thought. I did all these notes earlier today, so I'm going to kick it over to you guys. What do you have to say?
Well, one thing I just wanted to add in there, Ken Wisenhunt.
Yeah, I fucked up all these names. I learned them all today, so.
Never forget, man, Ken Wisenhunt was the coach that got the Cardinals to their first and only Super Bowl. He was the head coach of that team, so he knew a little something at one point. So you want to talk about learning stuff from people. Arthur Smith had to have pulled something from Wisenhunt. you would
Yeah,
assume.
dude. Wisenhunt, Joe Gibbs. This guy's got a
fucking
he's
Joe
got-
Gibbs, dude.
He's got a history.
Yeah.
And, I
If
think
I
it all
want to learn
starts
from
with
someone,
And Joe Gibbs is a huge one.
That
Yeah,
seems like
for
a
sure.
way to do.
Yeah, man. This team should be super interesting. Kyle Pitts is going to go ham, and bringing in Arthur Smith goes hand in hand with Kyle Pitts. I thought, no wonder you're taking a tight end top 4 overall when you bring in Arthur Smith. Losing Julio Jones, obvious hole that they'll have to improve, but I don't think they need to do it with one player. You can do it with Kyle Pitts and Russell Gage. Just combine that, and then you got more bodies on the field. Because I still think Russell Gage was pretty consistent last year in his first ever major role. And I talked about it a couple episodes ago, but 90 catchable targets. He caught 72 of them. That's a catch rate of 80%. If he can just do that or improve on that, more importantly, I think he makes a good number 2 to Calvin Ridley. If he doesn't, they might be a little screwed at the wide receiver position.
Yeah.
What
But
about Olamide Zacchaeus,
Mr. Z?
he could be good.
Mr. Z?
That's what I was trying to say too. I lost my train of thought when I was rambling, but I could see Kyle Pitts coming in and taking the Corey Davis role,
Yeah,
and then Hayden Hurst, taking
being the tight end.
being the tight end.
Maybe Kyle
Yeah.
Pitts
That's a bold
can
prediction,
be
but,
used everywhere. So,
It would be a waste of Kyle Pitts to put him in as a tight end, not split out.
yeah, that's fair.
He's not an inline tight end. He never has played an inline tight end. He can block. His execution in college, that was the thing that stood out about Kyle Pitts, is that he played his heart out, even though he didn't have to be as successful as he was. And that kind of character, he's going to be given every opportunity possible. But I think he's going to be out wide. And I think, Hayden Hurst is going to be on the field. And then the rest of the guys rotate in. Hopefully Frank Darby can show out. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of that. But they pretty much played without Julio last year anyway.
Yeah,
He had 68 targets, which, that's not hardly a wide receiver too, Curtis Samuel had 97 targets last year, right? You want to talk about crazy?
Mike Davis had 70.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying. But if you want to talk about opportunity, I think Mike Davis walks into huge opportunities. Ito Smith and Brian Hill and Todd Gurley with the Falcons anymore, they're not. And each one of those guys had several targets, or attempts, I should say. Todd Gurley had 195 with 35 targets. Brian Hill had 100 attempts with 30 targets. And then Ito Smith had 63 carries with 26 targets. So right there, you're beyond the 70 target opportunity for, Mike Davis to come in and just take all that shit. It's probably not going to happen. But I think at least 200 plus carries are coming his way. And it could be pretty impressive. I'm pretty big on Mike Davis this year. And I'm pretty excited now that I've heard everything AJ has to say about the new coaching, because their draft kind of reflected a little emphasis on the offensive line.
Yeah.
They went with tackle in the 3rd round and center in the 4th. Not the highest profile stuff, but when you take a tight end at 4 overall, you pretty much
Right.
you're gonna have to wait for some other stuff. So I think that they got a kind of a middle of the road O line, and there's a lot of sacks last year for Matt Ryan. It was kind of he's been that guy that just has to run around the field and hope something comes open. I think getting Kyle Pitts is going to get the plays moving a lot faster. It's going to lessen the pressure on Matt Ryan. I think it's going to open up this offense. Hopefully Mike Davis can help with that too. But I think this team has always been better than they should be. Mm-hmm. And we'll see what happens. They lost their center, Alex Mack. That's a huge blow. He's in San Francisco now. But I think they can do all right. They got Cordero Patterson now, so they're unstoppable.
Who?
Yeah, that's right. Your boy Corderol.
No, I agree with everything you said, except I'll push back a little bit on Mike Davis.
All right.
Rushing, sure. I think he's going to get a lot of opportunity in the rushing game. but he's not getting anywhere close to the targets he did last year.
Yeah, that's
I mean, he'd only been over 40 once in his career.
Yep.
And then outside of that, he's never topped 20. But then you even look at the Falcons, their lead running back got 35. That was Todd Gurley. You talked about that. To be fair, 90 altogether when you combine all their running backs. But they did bring in Javian Hawkins, and they still have Quandre Allison.
Yeah.
So those guys could take targets. And then last year, Arthur Smith, his offense only targeted Derrick Henry 31 times. And then you go, okay, well, he's not a pass-catching back. Well, the next closest running back only had 17.
Yeah.
So I just don't see them targeting Mike Davis a lot, which I think improved his fantasy numbers quite a bit last year.
Sure.
Because he was with the Panthers, a team that does dump the ball off like a motherfucker. And I'm just not thrilled about a 28-year-old journeyman running back joining a new team.
All right.
I think he could do well, but even last year, his efficiency running the ball was okay. He had 3.9 yards per carry. Like, it was fine. That's good for a backup running back. I'm just not going to see him... I don't think I'm going to see him come in and just dominate the rushing game for the Falcons. He could be good. He should be on a roster for sure. But these guys, I don't know that a lot of people are expecting him to be this like super steal that is going to be like a top 15 RB that nobody thought about. I just don't see that happening. But I could be wrong. He's a good player. He's always been a good player. That's why he's stuck around so long. So maybe this is the first time he gets a chance to get 200 carries. And he just shoves all of them right down my fucking throat.
I mean, if you look at it, you got a horrible running back situation. You go out and get Mike Davis, probably the best option as far as free agent.
And bargain bin guys,
right.
for sure.
So
because they didn't have any money. So
yeah. So it's going to be interesting because, Matt Ryan's 36. Are they going to like kind of go for it here? Because like, where's your rebuild at? Are you going to tank and like...
Well, they're going to try to go for it because they're building this offense, but that defense is still going to be terrible.
Yeah, the secondary was awful.
They lost one of their best players, even though he wasn't that good last year, in Keanu Neal.
Yep.
So they're going to be in a shootout, which is going to be awesome for fantasy owners of any Falcons. Like, go for it. They're going to be chucking that ball, but
straight to Mike Davis.
Hey, I hope so, man. I like the guys that stick around for a long time.
Yeah,
they did get Richie Grant though out of
That's
UFC.
Fair. That was a good pick.
UCF, so I'm pretty excited. He should be a pretty awesome safety.
I will say if we're talking shootout and you're looking at Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, and Mr. Z, Frank Darby, I mean it kind of seems like Kyle Pitts almost has to have an immediate impact, right?
He has to.
Guaranteed.
Like, who else is it going to be?
I'm telling you, he's not a tight end.
I don't think so either. I think he'll be there.
He's a quarterback. He's wearing number 8, right?
Oh,
gross.
just like Amari Rodgers or A-Raj.
A-Raj.
Yeah, I think the same. That's kind of where my intuition's telling me is. I mean, he's going to play the tight end when they need to go double tight or when he comes in and they want to mass protect or whatever. But I think they're going to try to establish the run, and that's going to be based off of like a high functioning passing offense, and that's the only way you can make Mike Davis work.
Hey, man, you could do a lot worse, though, than Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, Russell Gage, and Hayden Hurst lining up at the same time.
You guys got anything to say on the Falcons? I think it has potential to be exciting, but I don't see them winning a lot of games.
Yeah, they'll be fun to watch, but honestly, they might end up with a similar record.
So it's a 4th-round draft pick. They probably made rookie cards for
probably.
him.
Yeah. I could see them going like 5-12, 6-11, just because their defense is going to give up a lot of points.
Yeah, it might be a fantasy factory.
Oh, for sure.
Always has been.
Right?
They've never been successful.
I mean, Matt Ryan always goes super late in drafts, but he's always really consistently good for you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I never really recapped I try to do this. So the records last year, the Falcons were 4-12.
Mm-hmm.
Panthers were 5-11. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were 11-5, and then New Orleans Saints won the division at 12-4. So pretty solid division as far as scoring points.
Yeah.
And points allowed. I don't know. This team's are pretty polar opposites, you know.
Yeah.
It's fun because New Orleans and Tampa Bay had great offenses and great defenses.
Yeah.
So they scored a lot of points and didn't allow a lot of points, and then
That's how you win.
I guess so.
Are we gonna talk about Young Ho Koo or?
Oh, his Jeep?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Poor fella.
Oh man.
What are you gonna do?
Just wants his cleats back, man.
Just give him his cleats, man. He's like the third best player on this team. After, of course, Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts.
Sure.
Oh, Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan deserves some fucking respect.
No, I know. I mean, he's going to be the highest scorer on the team.
Yeah?
I guarantee you that.
Good job.
All right.
Yeah, some of those onside kicks were pretty sick, though.
Dude.
You probably can't do those without the cleats. So.
I would imagine.
Those were his lucky cleats, I guess. That's what he was saying.
That's why they were in his car in the offseason.
Oh, my
Makes
God.
sense.
He's going to get traded to Minnesota.
Well, yeah, you don't want to practice in your lucky cleats. Those are for... I guess I don't know why he's there in the car then. Maybe
No,
he needs
because he was never away from them except for that time where they came up missing out of a Jeep.
Well, the whole Jeep went missing, not
Oh, yeah.
specifically the cleats.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew the cleats were
Give
in
me
there.
the cleats.
That's why they did it.
Well, if you take the whole Jeep, then they won't suspect that it was only for the cleats.
I don't have time to run with these cleats. I got to take the car, man.
This, if you return the car, if they find the car, they'll never look for the cleats. Well,
Yep, that wraps up the NFC South.
NFC South
Cleat talk.
Cleat. That was the Cleat Corner, sponsored by Under Armour.
ugh. I'd like to formally
Now I want to
apologize
see
for
what kind of cleats
everything.
young Ho wears.
In the meantime, while we looked it up, we're going to say bye. We're going to take a break, and then we'll go back to our high-low ADP. So watch for that on Wednesdays. I'm dropping that at 6 a.m. But, yeah, I hope you guys like this. We are breaking these up into individual teams, which will be dropping sporadically. Yeah, it'll be the same content. We're just trying to get a little bit more exposure. But with that said, thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll catch you around. Peace, dude.
Bye.
Oh, for fuck's sake, get out of here with all the ads. I just want to look at this dude's feet.